The Dave Campbell's Texas Football Crew is live here from SEC Media Days at the Omni Hotel in Dallas. I am Carter Yates. That is senior college writer Mike Craven. An absolute electric day here at day one of SEC Media Days.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start off? Do we want to just go Greg Sankey right off the top?
Yeah, probably Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey, his world tour, right? His world conquest tour. Took a slower moment here today, right? 16 is today, 16 is tomorrow. Kind of pumped the brakes on the expansion talk. I don't think anybody bought it, though.
No.
3 of the first 5 questions he got were about expansion. So I think conference realignment is still kind of the big talking point at most of these things right now.
And what did you make of him 3 times? People asked him 3 times about it, and he just kept saying 16, I'm focused on the 16. Like, it can't possibly be what it actually is, right?
Yeah, I think they don't want to get sued.
Exactly.
Right. He kind of pointed out his presidents have told him, do not get us into litigation. And while the ACC and their media rights are up in the air, and Florida State, Clemson having those talks, I think the less they say, the better. But I don't think anybody thinks the SEC isn't trying to see what they can do to expand. Just like the Big Ten, just like the Big 12. Like that is their job, right? To see how they can be, the premier conference in the country. I think most would agree this is the premier conference in the country, and it became that way by not staying stagnant.
And what I think is interesting is Greg Sankey pointed out, the SEC is still one of the only conferences where the name actually means something, and not it just means more, but Southeastern, right? The Southeastern part of the United States. The Big Ten is now pretty much coast to coast with the 4 Pac-12 teams. The ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference, has Pacific Coast, Stanford, and Cal. What do you think about the regionality here for the SEC?
Yeah, I love it. I think it gives you a footprint. I think it gives you an identity, right? Like, what is the identity of the ACC right now? What is the identity of the Big Ten other than just being big and powerful? The SEC still has a regional aspect to it. Still has the culture part of being Southeastern. He mentioned that it only added 100 miles to the longest trip to add Texas and Oklahoma. So maybe it's just the purist in me, the traditionalist in me. But I enjoy that the conference still has a footprint, still has a uniqueness about it, and it's not just spread out.
Now, Texas will be here Wednesday. Texas A&M will be here Thursday. But could you feel their presence, Texas and Oklahoma, I should say, now that them joining the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, even Saban talked about it even on the SEC show about how he's starting to hear, Texas is here, right? All the questions are about Texas. LSU got asked a couple questions about Texas. I think every coach that got up there, except for maybe Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, got asked about Texas. So it's going to be a big talking point. You don't hear about it as much as Oklahoma, right? Some of that's because we're here in Texas, but adding the Longhorns does change some stuff. Recruiting is going to change a little bit. Like, where the players are coming from is obviously going to change. The top of the conference may change. So definitely a different dynamic than it has been in the past.
And what I thought was interesting is Lane Kiffin in his press breakout said, NCAA, EA Sports College football is on everyone's mind right now. He said if you did it like a video game with Steve Sarkisian, some coaches are rated high as leaders or recruiters or motivators. Sarkisian has balance. See, there's no weaknesses with him. What do you think of Sarkisian, Kiffin, Nick Saban's imprint, you would say, on this SEC Media Days?
Yeah, I mean, I think we counted it up. 25% of the head coaches here over the 4 days, the 16 head coaches are from the Saban tree. They also coached with each other with Pete Carroll at USC. Like, they've been on the same staff before, even as young guys. I think it also speaks to the SEC changing in terms of what they look for in a head coach. For a while, all the hotshot head coaches were defensive guys. Now a lot of them are offensive guys. And so, I think Lane, Sark are kind of on that new age head coaches that somebody's got to rise to the top. Kirby Smart's kind of on top of the mantle right now, but, they're going to try to knock him off. I think those 2 guys in particular kind of bring a little different energy than maybe the old guard of SEC coaches did.
Did you have a most interesting team today that you heard from?
Yeah, Brian Kelly always interests me.
Yeah.
Right? You just never know how authentic it is and how he's going to come across and what he's going to say. I thought he was pretty honest today about having the number 1 ranked offense and that not being enough. They need to get better defensively. They talked about Nussmeier and what he's going to do at quarterback, replacing a Heisman Trophy candidate. I think just sitting here at SEC Media Days, it reminds you how deep this conference is. Like LSU's up there and talking, and you're like, well, they're not even one of the favorites. So Ole Miss the same, right? Like, Lane Kiffin and those guys spent a ton of money through the transfer portal, have a really good roster. but I don't think you'd say they're one of the 3 favorites in the conference. So just how deep this conference is, how star-studded this conference is, just kind of always comes to light during media days.
And 2 former Texas high school football stars for LSU, quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, who is taking over, waited for 4 years. You don't see that anymore to start. Not the same type of player as Jaden Daniels, who's more of a dual threat, but Brian Kelly said football IQ-wise in the classroom, both very smart football players, and obviously Harold Perkins, a 2-time all-conference guy. From Cy Park, now to LSU. Another school with 2 Texas high school football stars is Oklahoma, going tomorrow. Quarterback Jackson Arnold and safety Billy Bowman Jr. What are you looking for with the Sooners?
Yeah, I guess just to see what they feel like is different. You know, going into year 3, you know, he's always going to get measured against Texas and Sarkisian, right? You kind of come in at the same time, and you took over a program that arguably on the field was better. And Texas has kind of passed you up, even though you win the game last year. You know, Texas is already being talked about as one of the favorites to win the SEC. I think it's Georgia. You know, Texas is right there. Oklahoma's not in that discussion. They're kind of in that next group with Ole Miss, LSU. Really talented, but what are they going to do? It'll be interesting to see kind of where they are in terms of the chest boasting. You know, I feel like these media days are a lot of times there's some coaches who were trying to dial it back. You could tell Lane Kiffin was trying to dial the expectations back.
Yes.
Feels like some coaches come in here and try to raise them up, try to pump them up, put your chest out a little bit. Be interesting to see where Venerables is.
Did you even see any coach today really try to pump it up? I don't know, but Brian Kelly not really, Lane Kiffin not really, Clark Lee, no?
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if we get more of that tomorrow. At Tennessee, you know, may come in and be like, hey, we're a little disrespected, right? You know, Oklahoma, I think, is a team that may have some disrespect. And that's kind of the thing, right, is with the new SEC, what is the pecking order? I think the coaches are trying to figure that out as well, because a few of them were asked, how much harder is your job now with Texas and Oklahoma? It was already hard, right? Winning the SEC was already hard. Now it's even harder. You know, I think even the coaches are trying to figure out kind of where they sit and where they stand in this thing.
Well, that's a full-fledged recap, day 1 of SEC Media Days. We got 3 more days going through Thursday at the Omni Hotel here in Dallas. That's senior college writer Mike Craven. I'm Carter Yates signing off for day 1.